the Light of Truth radio broadcast with Michael Boldea.
All right, well, welcome to the program and thank you for joining us. This is the Light of Truth radio broadcast. I am your host, Michael Boldea, and, we survived a government shutdown, kids. Can you believe it? Is everyone okay? Everyone's still alive and breathing, above ground and whatnot? They made it seem so dire, didn't they? Oh, we can't have the government shut down. Really? Why? Everyone did okay. I understand that there were certain armed forces that were furloughed, and I sympathize. I understand that they didn't get paid. But chances were you weren't getting cut a check Saturday or Sunday anyway. The point is, nothing horrible happened while the government was shut down. And they try to sell us on this dire outcome that if the government happens to shut down for a few days, it would be chaos. Apparently not. So, there you go. We survived it. We should make T-shirts. I remember I used to live in California, for those that don't know. And we were there for the big earthquake in the 80s. A few weeks afterwards, entrepreneurial minds came up with T-shirts. I survived the earthquake of, I think it was, 88, something like that. So now we can make T-shirts and say I survived the government shutdown of 2018. So there you go. Everyone alive and well and accounted for. Tonight I want to discuss something really interesting that has spiritual connotations as well. Tonight I want to talk about hubris. It's one of those things that when you see just how far it can push people to do foolish things, when you see just how far on the edge people will go due to their hubris, it's wise to assess their actions and hopefully learn from their mistakes, because hubris is not a new thing. It is a malady even Satan himself suffered from, Lucifer, whatnot. So hubris has been around since the advent of mankind. And it seems that some people still don't learn from the mistakes of others, and they feel as though they must, at all cost, feel the pain of the mistake for themselves. So there are two stories that I want to get into tonight. One about mid-level, I guess, FBI agents who thought themselves masters of the universe and took it upon themselves to decide that though the American people chose to vote a certain way, it was unacceptable to them. And if you haven't heard about these texts that have been coming out, they're eye-opening. Because when you start reading what these people are up to, these supposed servants of the people, these people who survive and thrive on taxpayer dollars, you realize that we're no better than a banana republic. Had their plan come to fruition, we would be no better than a banana republic. These are mid-level paper pushers who took it upon themselves to pull strings from behind the curtain and attempt to undo what was a national election for president. This is serious here. They were talking about contingency plans in case Donald Trump won. But see, their hubris was such that though they talked about it, they never really believed it was a possibility. Because if they believed for 1 second that it was possible for Donald Trump to be sworn in as president, I think they would have been a lot more careful as to the texts back and forth, and the plans they were hatching, and all the things that have come to light. But see, in their minds, there was no way that Hillary could use it. It was baked in the cake. And once Hillary was sworn in, it all got swept under the rug. No one was the wiser. Imagine that. Imagine the level of corruption, the stench and infection that is oozing out of Washington, D.C. These people were making contingency plans in case Hillary lost, yet their hubris was such where they took no measures to veil their plans, to speak secretly, to come up with a code. Pig Latin, whatever. Something that would give off the idea that they believed for just a second that someone other than Hillary Clinton would be president. So, yes, the FBI, the Federal Bureau of these investigations, seems to be Swiss cheesy with corruption. But we knew about this back in the Lois Lerner days, where they targeted conservative groups, the IRS. See, when you take any government agency and you use it against your political adversaries, when you weaponize it, for lack of a better term, then that's not just immoral, that's illegal. People have broken the law. And I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. It's going to get deeper and it's going to get uglier and darker. And I think by the time it's all said and done, trust in the system, quote unquote, trust in the machine, trust in DC will have eroded to such a level that people won't believe someone simply when they say their first name. Hi, my name's Bob. I don't believe you. Why? Because you work for the government. And these are no longer conspiracy theories. These are not pie in the sky, Alex Jonesy sort of things. These things have come to light. It's a reality. It's something that is demonstrable. But their hubris was such, their arrogance, their conceit and haughtiness and self-importance and pomposity was such that they took absolutely no measures to veil what they were saying. Now, there was a minor attempt to sort of repeat the email scandal of 2016 and 2017 where we lost them. We lost a lot of the conversation. Somehow they just mysteriously disappeared. But that didn't fly anymore. See, you can only take you can only have the same play a handful of times before the people catch on. And again, because of the internet, because information is so readily available, people can know that even though it came from the FBI, when they start telling you that we lost these messages and they cannot be retrieved, a 13-year-old kid with a six-pack of Red Bull and a fast laptop can prove them wrong. So it's astounding to me that the hubris of this people knows no bounds. And they're still at it. They're still attempting to undo the will of the people of this country because they believe that the will of the people is wrong. They believe that the people of this country are fools. And I wanted to take that story and dovetail it into another story that I ran across. And if you happen to own a Scotty vest, I don't know why you would. It's just a vest with lots of pockets. So if you need that many pockets, there's something wrong with you. But yes, the CEO of Scotty Vest got bit by his own hubris, as it were, because I'll just read you the article and go into it a little bit, because it's hilarious, because who does that? Unless you're an absolute arrogant buffoon, if you're so pompous and conceited. And then let's just go back a little bit. You invented a vest with pockets. You didn't invent the artificial heart. You didn't invent a cure for cancer. You didn't invent a new kind of engine. You invented a vest. You didn't even invent the vest. The vest has been around for centuries. You put pockets on a vest, you buffoon. But the hubris of this man is just astounding to me. And not just his hubris, but his disconnect regarding his own customer base. So let's get into this, because I realize some of you may want to hear about the email scandal and the messages going back and forth between mid-level FBI, high-level FBI, just the collusion between what was the FBI director back then and their need to clear Hillary Clinton before the elections. All this stuff is coming out. It's just putrid, man. I have to hold my nose reading about it, and I don't feel like going dark tonight. I don't feel like getting into the sewer tonight. Because it was a lovely day in Wisconsin today. It wasn't warm by any means. It was in the 30s, but I spent the last hour and a half walking the baby in the stroller outside, well bundled up. And she slept up until about 10 minutes ago, because I'm sure some of you could hear her in the background. She's awake and kicking. But yeah, so I don't feel like going dark. I don't feel like talking about the cesspool that is our elected, esteemed officials. So let's talk about the man who put pockets on a vest, and of course called it the Scotty vest because his first name is Scott. And what do you know? Hubris and pomposity and pride go hand in hand. So Scott eVest CEO, Scott Jordan. So if you own a Scotty vest, hang on to your pockets. Said that his company advertises on Fox News because their viewers are extremely gullible and bad word idiots. Bad words starting with F. So one is left to wonder just how shoddy Jordan's product is. And this is what it is. This is all it is. A vest with enough inside pockets to carry a phone, a tablet, and a water bottle. Anyway, sounding like a true elitist, the article says, Jordan made the comments on Facebook within the context of meeting people on a ski lift. So what he wrote in a message on, I guess it was Twitter or Facebook or something. He says, I love meeting new people that recognize me and my company from all our television commercials. I'm on a ski lift and the following exchange just happened and happens often, he wrote. Jordan explained that his part of this exchange to ask what network they saw him on. So invariably, he says, people answer Fox News. At this point, Jordan explains, I laugh to myself and tell them that we primarily advertise on Fox because we find their viewership to be extremely gullible and much easier to sell than other networks. He adds, the look on their faces at that time is priceless. I'm not kidding. I get to tell them that they're idiots while getting rich off them. So, again, you sewed pockets into a vest. This was your big claim to fame. You did not invest or invent, I don't know, an artificial kidney, glass eye, a pincer hook that amputees can use to pick their nose. I don't know, something that is more noteworthy than big pockets on a vest. But here is the inventor of the Scotty vest, the man who sewed big pockets into a vest and apparently got rich off the suckers that bought it, talking about his clientele, the people who actually shelled out money for this idiocy, and saying that he gets to tell them that they're idiots and that he's getting rich off them. Now, of course, hubris compelled this man to make his sentiments known. I don't think for one second he thought to himself, the blowback's going to be tremendous. I don't think for one second he thought to himself, I shouldn't really say what's on my mind at this point, even though this is the way I feel. I should shut up about it. No. Never once crossed his mind. Because he's pompous and he's arrogant. And he believes that he's entitled to call his customer base idiots. Scotty Vest responded quickly with a statement. He's the chairman of Scotty Vest. It's got his first name in there. But of course, they had to protect their brand. So Scotty Vest responded quickly with a statement that declared Jordan's comments offensive and inexcusable. Isn't that always the case, though? Isn't it? Every time these people are called out, they make an apology. And they find the statements offensive and inexcusable. Again, there's that old saying, you're not sorry you said it, you're sorry you got caught. That's pretty much what Scotty Vest is up to right now. So, their statement was as follows. The recent offensive and inexcusable social media post by Scott Jordan does not reflect the views of Scotty Vest. In 2017, Mr. Jordan stepped down from the management of Scotty Vest, and he's not involved in our daily operations. We are extremely sorry for his unacceptable comments. Mr. Jordan's post was impulsive and inappropriate for too many reasons to list, and rightly offended so many people. We strongly disagree with the views expressed by Mr. Jordan. I'm sure you do. Who wrote that? That Mr. Jordan's son-in-law, son, daughter, whatever? Come on. Seriously. Mr. Jordan stepped in it, and now he doesn't know how to get it off his shoe. Now, Jordan has since deleted both his Facebook and Twitter accounts. On Friday, Jordan took to Medium to publish a lengthy apology. Of course he did. I am profoundly sorry. I am profoundly sorry for my horrible and offensive remarks. This past Sunday, I posted on my personal Facebook page an incredibly rude and inaccurate statement about Scotty Vest's TV advertising on Fox News. On Monday, I removed the offensive post and posted an apology on Facebook. I have since deactivated my Facebook account, and the apology is no longer available, so I'm writing it here. To those that I called gullible and idiotic, I'm truly sorry. You lie. You lie. You are not sorry. You're just sorry you got called out. You're sorry you got caught. And you're sorry that the best invention you could come up with was big pockets on a vest. That is the pinnacle of your intellect, sir. Big pockets on a vest. That's it. You've peaked. And what would have been your retirement, what would have been a golden parachute, what would have been a nice chunk of change coming in from all those gullible idiots, has now withered on the vine. Who's going to buy your big pocket vests now? Because I think the gullible idiots have caught on. And they realize something very profound, sir. They can live without a vest with big pockets. Yeah. So there you go. That's what hubris does. That is the epitome of hubris. And no matter how many people get absolutely decimated by hubris, there's always someone waiting in the wings to take their place. There's always someone waiting in the wings to make the same mistake, to do the same thing that got the other guy annihilated. Because there's no reason or logic to hubris. Hubris inevitably makes people think of themselves in grander terms than they have any right to think of themselves. And they enjoy it. They revel in the idea. But see, when it all comes crashing down, they realize that their high and mightiness was just an illusion. This article continues. See, again, like I said, I'm in the mood for levity tonight. He went on to apologize to the people at Scotty Vest, the two Oriental ladies that were sewing pockets in the vests that he bought from China. Ha ha ha. But medium commenters were unforgiving, the article says. And this is true. One wrote, "You're only sorry you got caught." Exactly. The company can remove you without paying you a dime, or you'll see the hashtag calling for your company's boycott start trending Monday. Well, I guess his customer base is not dumb enough not to be offended. Another hit the nail on the head. To me, the mistake wasn't in saying what you felt about customers, actually feeling that about customers. And that should cut deep. That is the truth. One commenter pointed out that while insulting Fox News viewers, Jordan was also denigrating his own product. You were sewing pockets in a vest. Let's calling it a product, a little stretchy. So again, and this keeps repeating. Look at this. This incident is reminiscent of the stupid comments made by Camping World CEO Marcus Lemonis back in August, when he told CNBC that he did not want anyone who agreed with President Trump's remarks about Charlottesville, Virginia, to shop at his business. If you recall, at the time, elitists were furious at Trump for rightly calling attention to and condemning the left-wing domestic terror group Antifa. Antifa operates as the left's shock troops, as their brown shirts who attack anyone on the right. Anyway, so that's what Mr. Scotty did. And as was pointed out in the article, he's not the first one to have done it. And I guarantee you he won't be the last. because hubris has a way of twisting men's minds, of making them into fools while making them believe themselves to be geniuses. I guarantee you, while this guy was writing what he wrote about his customer base, he was giggling and smiling and having himself a grand old time. Never once did he think, hey, this may come back to bite me just a smidge. Same thing that happened with the back and forth between FBI officials who took it upon themselves to steer the course of the nation, or at least try. I think that in hindsight, when all of this gets hashed out, when we see just the massive amount of opposition that this administration had from the get-go, I think anyone that's honest, intellectually speaking, will have a hard time not acknowledging that it was a divine appointment. I think that's the best way I can put it. There was just so many different outlets. There were so many different power brokers all set against this administration. The fact that it's still here and that they're still going should be a surprise. It's astounding. And again, everyone's got their flaws, but better than the alternative. So what else has been going on this week? Well, the stock market seems to know no ceiling, and that should be a little concerning. I think there comes a time where things get so overvalued. There comes a time when things... Look, we've lived through bubbles before. Full disclosure, I am not invested in the stock market because you have to have money to invest in the stock market. But even if I did have expendable cash, chances are I would not do it at this moment in time. Because everything is overvalued. But this is the hysteria of easy money. And I think when the bubble bursts and the music stops, whoever's caught standing without a chair, it's going to get ugly. It's not going to be good. And I think that we saw it in 2008. We've seen it repeatedly. But apparently we never learn from our mistakes. And we never learn from the mistakes of those that came before us. And so we repeat them continually. Apparently Donald Trump is currently in Davos. He is speaking to the elites, as it were, the people who think they are the masters of the universe, the people who believe themselves to be wiser than us common folk, and thus, they get to tell us what to do. So we'll see what comes of that. And other than that, life is simple as far as the Boldea household is concerned. We got to feed the kids. We got to change the kids. We got to bathe the kids. We got to take one of them to pre-K, and we got to make sure the other one sleeps. And that's it. It's things get real simple when you're responsible for other human lives. You have to keep them alive. You have to keep them healthy. We did find out that Melina is lactose intolerant. And so my wife's going to have to alter her diet drastically because she likes milk and she likes cheeses. And she likes dairy. And so we've been looking for non-dairy, non-soy foods, and there aren't that many around. You got your vegetables, you got your nuts, and you got your meats. But as far as enjoying a nice baked brie, that is in the past, as it were. So, but other than that, the baby's healthy. Victoria's growing up faster than I'd like her to. And I'm thankful to God because I didn't expect to have this season of peace. I didn't expect to have this lull in excitement, as it were. And yes, the baby's still waking up at night, and yes, sleep deprivation is a real thing. But other than that, all is good. See, it doesn't take a lot, or it shouldn't take a lot, to cause us to be thankful towards God. It shouldn't take a lot to compel us to drop to our knees in gratitude to the Eternal Father. But we've become this generation of high expectation where unless what God does for us tomorrow exceeds what he did for us today, and what he does for us today exceeds what he did for us yesterday, we're reticent about being thankful. We're reticent about thanking him. See, God doesn't have to outdo himself in order for us to owe him our thanks. That's a lesson that a lot of westernized Christians ought to learn very quickly. God does not have to outdo himself in order for us to owe him our thanks. We have the most priceless gifts, and we take them for granted more often than not. We have our families who love us. We have roofs over our heads. We have our health as it is. We have a Father to run to cry out to seek out. A Father who promised that if we seek him, we would find him. A Father who can do all things. Not just some things, but all things. And whose love for his children is beyond human comprehension. See, I struggle with this sometimes. I have two daughters and I love them more than words can express. And yet, when I compare my love to the love of God for mankind, I realize that my understanding of God's love is limited at best. Even though I love fully and completely the children that God has given me. I realize the intensity of God's love is so much greater that I cannot comprehend it. And I struggle with that. Because it's easy to fall into this trap to start believing that God is like man. And so he can only love to the extent that we do, and in the measure that we do, and with the passion and ferocity that we do. God himself says he is not like man, and that his ways are not as our ways, and that our thoughts are not his thoughts. So when we begin to consider something as wondrous as the love of God, we have to start out knowing that we can never fully grasp the magnitude of it. We can get an idea of it. We can get a sense of it. We can intuit that it's a truly amazing thing. As far as fully understanding it, no, I don't think it's possible. I don't. I've thought about this. I've wrestled with this. I've read all the passages on the love of God. I've read all the books that were written on the passages on the love of God. And still, I believe and I know that though men far smarter than myself have tried to explain it and define it and give it nuance and texture, they have not grasped the fullness of it. See, we can rest easy in the arms of God. Not just when times are good, not just when things are flourishing, not just when skies are blue and birds are chirping, but even when the seas get rough, storm clouds gather, even when there seems to be no way out of the circumstance that we find ourselves in, even when hardships and trials batter us over and over again, even then, even at our lowest, we can rest easy in the arms of a loving God. And it's not an easy thing to accomplish. Don't get me wrong. I just because you can rest easy doesn't mean it's easy to rest easy. Because it's something that human nature doesn't allow you to do readily. Human nature continues to grow all the more despondent. It needs to find a way to solve the problem. And it grows more anxious. And so you have to subdue your natural inclination to react in the flesh. You have to subdue the natural inclination to try to solve the issue on your own. And force yourself to rest in the arms of God. And sometimes that can be mistaken for indifference. It's not. When I know that I cannot control a given situation, when I know that I cannot compel change of a certain circumstance, no matter how hard I try, I simply rest easy. Because I know my Father. And I know the goodness of Him. And I know the love that He has for His children. And so rather than rip out the little hair that I have left and beat my chest and go, woe is me, and try to solve the problem on my own. I know that the one who spoke the universe into being is much better adept at solving the problems of life than I will ever be. Now, I don't know how we got here, and I don't know who this is for. But I hope that you understand what I'm trying to say. You can't solve it on your own. You can't fix this. But God can. See, there's the best that we can do is make something look better cosmetically. You put a little powder on it. You put a little Band-Aid on it. But we can't heal it. We can't fix it. That's something only God can do. But knowing that God can, knowing that He is able, would it not be wise to simply lay it at His feet and see what He can do? You've seen what you can do already. Nothing. As a friend of mine used to say, you can't do nothing. So you've already seen what you can do. Lay it at God's feet and see what He can do. Because all of us have problems and issues in life. All of us have family members that we're praying for and hoping to see some positive change. All of us have something that we've been trying to fix on our own for a very long time. Why not let God take a crack at it? Stop trying to fix it. You can't fix it anyway. Trust Him and see what He can do. Lay it at His feet and see the absolute supernatural way that He can solve something that you thought unsolvable. Because even though you might think you can fix it on your own, eventually there will come something. Eventually there will come a day when, try as you might, something will be out of your sphere of control. There will be something that you will not be able to fix. There will be something that you won't be able to hire out for someone else to fix. See, but the longer it takes for us to trust God, the longer it takes for us to lay something at His feet, the more we try to do it on our own, the harder it becomes for us to humble ourselves. We get stiff-necked. We get haughty and proud, and we get arrogant. And we become self-assured and overestimate our own abilities. And then after we've tried and failed and we can't fix it on our own, we start looking to the left and to the right to see who we can blame for our failures. Because, see, it's never us. It's never our fault, is it? It's never me. Because I can do no wrong. Hubris. We're back to hubris. And I've met a lot of people like that. It's never them. There's always some external force. There's always some third party. There's always someone else that's keeping them from living their bliss, that's keeping them from attaining what they want, that's keeping them from grabbing that brass ring they've always wanted. It's never them. They find a way to blame others for their own shortcomings and failures. Oh, why they got the promotion because, they flirted with the boss. Well, maybe it's because they, woke up at 3 a.m. and were at work at 4:30 when you got in at 10. It may not be what you think. But nobody likes to look in the mirror. Nobody likes to be introspective about their shortcomings and their failings. Because that would mean they have to acknowledge that there's no one else to blame for not being where they want to be. There's no one else to blame for not achieving what they want to achieve. And that's hard for some people to swallow because we've been taught for so long that we're the apple of God's eye. That we can have everything we ever wanted without breaking a sweat. By the way, what happened to that guy? Remember the guy with the Land Rovers and the Ferraris? I have to look into it. I'll update you next week if there is an update to be had. Who was it? I forget his name, but Benny Hinn's protege. Because he was supposed to go to court, wasn't he? Sorry. I veered. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, I remember. Don't allow hubris to cloud your judgment regarding yourself. That is an important lesson, and that's the takeaway from tonight's program. Don't allow hubris to cloud your judgment regarding yourself. Don't allow hubris to cause you to overestimate your own abilities, thereby keeping you from laying it at the foot of the cross and keeping you from laying it at the feet of God and saying, Lord, I can't do it on my own. I can't fix it. But I know that you can, and I trust that you will. Because, see, you don't have to be a king of a nation to experience hubris. You can be a mid-level paper pusher. You can be a guy who sewed a big pocket into a vest. And that arrogance and that pomposity and that overestimation of one's abilities takes root and starts to fester and starts to grow. And you make a fool of yourself in front of the whole world. You sewed a pocket into a vest. Let's not pretend you cured Ebola. You have no reason to be this pompous. You have no reason to be this arrogant. And that can be said of many of us. What is it that we have accomplished in and of ourselves that gives us license for arrogance? What is it that we have accomplished in and of ourselves that gives us reason for hubris? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. If there is any good in us, it's Him. If there is any nobility in us, it's Him. If there's any virtue in us, it's Him. And when we continually acknowledge this truth, then hubris will have no way of taking root in our heart. Hubris will have no way of poisoning our awareness of ourselves and of making us act the fool. This will not be the last case of hubris. And I'm sure news stories are just around the corner where unimpressive men get to thinking that they're the bee's knees. And they start doing and saying things that are not only inexcusable but laughable on their face. So, anyway, thank you for joining us this night. I appreciate your prayers. I appreciate your friendship. And I appreciate you taking an hour every week to come and listen to the ramblings of a now middle-aged man. Hopefully we will be with you again next week. The plan is to be live again, but Lord knows, we shall see. Until then, if you happen to live in Hawaii, don't believe the missile alerts, apparently, because this is the type of, best and brightest that we're hiring nowadays. If you haven't heard what happened in Hawaii, a horrible thing. For 30 minutes, people thought they were dying. The missile alert went off, but that's a story for another time. For now, thank you for being with us. May God bless you. May God keep you. And until next time, be well. Gino, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mike. Romans 12:3, for I say through the grace given unto me to every man among you not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly according as God hath dealt to every man the measure of faith. I think that sums up what Mike was saying tonight. I don't know if Mike meant Copeland or Tilton or some protege of Benny Hinn, but how we have seen that in evangelistic circles when men get puffed up and arrogant, and it's almost like it's a fearful thing because it says pride goeth before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. And that's one characteristic we don't want in our heart, to be proud and think more highly of ourselves. I would urge us not to think more highly of ourselves than what God thinks, and always remember all good things come from the Father above, in whom there is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. Our daily bread, our daily breath, our life, everything is from God. And this is a good topic that Mike talked about tonight. You don't even hear it that much out there. You hear so many people preach, and many, especially well-known preachers, it's all about us, and, we've got the capacity to do this or that, and it's a me, my gospel, me, my, I gospel, instead of a God doing, God blessing, God opening doors, God raising people up. And so it's a very good reminder. Praise God for that. please, if you have a question, email lightoftruth@handofhelp.com. Also, prayer requests, send that as well to the email lightoftruth@handofhelp.com. If you don't have the Battle Ready Believer book, I would urge you to try to get a copy at handofhelp.com. Check out the bookstore. It has all the books, CDs, music, and God be with you. You have a great night in the Lord.
Thank you for listening to today's broadcast, The Light of Truth with Michael Boldea. If you would like to order a copy of today's broadcast, please visit our website at handofhelp.com. If you have questions about our ministry, you can email us at handofhelpoffice@aol.com or simply call us at 920-206-9910. God bless you.